been a while since I've created an update video about the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard. There have been a few stories popping up, though, as next week we are likely going to hear back from the EU and the CMA with their concerns about the case. First up, though, I wanted to take a look at an article from the Wall Street Journal that is rather scathing about Lina Khan. We're going to go over it all right now. So first up, big credit to Itis over on Reset Era for really doing an excellent job of keeping track of all of this. But one of the articles that he pointed out was this hipster antitrust goes beltway at the FTC. And it's an article all about Lina Khan and sort of criticisms about the entire FTC lawsuit. Now, this is from Holman W. Jenkins, and I actually highlighted the sections over here on Reset Era. Long story short, it's a rather scathing article about Miss Khan. It reads as follows. Miss Khan would soon be on CNBC insisting, if we see a law violation, we have an obligation to address that, neglecting to mention that her agency defines the law in ever-changeable, convenient ways and has yet to publish guidelines to let targets know what actions might run afoul of current prejudice. Deterrence is important, she added, but being deterred are likely many perfectly legal deals that would benefit businesses and their customers. The argument that the author is making is that the author feels as though the deal should have gone through and that this is kind of a waste of the FTC's time. I actually had another post open that was very critical about the FTC also and some of these stranger cases happening. There's been a lot of criticism about how the EU and UK is sort of flagging a lot of deals that are originating in the US. And now with the FTC also flagging it, they're getting a lot of criticisms from some authors. Now, Microsoft's basically said, you know, we're open to answer any questions that people might have. And we want, if you believe in competition, to let the deal go through. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with it. And especially with the recent layoffs, I do think that the FTC might have a stronger case. But let's keep hearing from this author. Antitrust seldom lacks for evidence. Companies hand over reams of documents and data, but too often the evidence is distorted to create a crime scene, a classic being the FTC's 2003 insistence that for antitrust purposes, super premium ice cream doesn't compete with ice cream. And I'm not familiar with that case, but I think what they're saying is the FTC is making some ridiculous assumptions. Anyway, Mrs. Khan's case is built on the fantasy that a single game franchise, Call of Duty, would enable Microsoft to monopolize the industry. It's useful to put in plainer words that previous analysts and reports have said the FTC is lying to have a case. Now, this is all about the Call of Duty angle. It lies about the game business. It lies about Microsoft's incentives to make Call of Duty exclusive to its Xbox, would not only throw away a large chunk of the $68.7 billion it's paying for. Activision Microsoft has already offered 10-year guarantees to other game machine makers. Meanwhile, Sony, the overwhelming market leader, keeps important games exclusive to its PlayStation and yet hasn't been sued by the FTC. More to the point, Call of Duty is not medicine for orphans. Why is this even a fit concern for government? The question is, they have 10-year deals on the table. Why is the government spending money to fight this deal? That's the question being posed by this author. And he kind of makes a point about why he thinks that is happening. The answer is Microsoft is big tech. Miss Khan was appointed to instantiate the activity of cracking down on big tech. So it's Microsoft. Microsoft's a big, attractive target that looks good for the FTC to be targeting, like making things harder for them. To the administration, I guess, he outlines that is a good thing, making things harder to purchase. And she lies to herself if she thinks anything else is going on here. The FTC complaint even lied when it said Microsoft promised a European Union watchdog in a previous case not to make exclusive Xbox games. Microsoft made no such promises, had no reason to make such a promise, and the EU watchdog promptly issued a statement saying as much. Very, very critical piece all about Lina Khan. And the author even says that Miss Khan's progress from aspiring renegade to establishment phony has truly been one for the record books. It's a very scathing piece on the current administration and the questioning the point of the Microsoft lawsuit to stop the deal. Now, honestly, I don't know that I agree with the negativity surrounding Miss Khan, but the motivations do seem a little suspect. And a few people have pointed out that this seems more politically motivated than truly antitrust. And the reason that they're going to that conclusion is because the original arguments were quite poorly laid out. When the gamers lawsuit makes better points than the FTC does, it just feels like the FTC should have had a better initial argument. Like if you're arguing for labor reasons, I hope that gets added to your case in the next few days, especially with the 10,000 layoffs at Microsoft. You know, you buy a company for $69 billion. 1 year later, you have a bunch of layoffs. That's something the FTC could bring up. But because they didn't in their original arguments, I wonder if that's going to be something that will be added later on. Now, if you've watched this far, I have more things that have happened and more expectations that you should have for the case. But before we get there, I am trying to hit 100,000 subscribers. So if you like these updates, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Half of you watching this video are not subscribed. So if you all hit subscribe right now, I would hit that goal of hitting 100,000 subscribers. And we're really close now. I broke 96,000 on the channel yesterday, or we did. So thank you so much for the support. Now, continuing on though, he points out some of the articles that we've seen about the EU case lately, because we've seen all these articles like, oh, the super in trouble, but the EU objections were always going to be posted at this time. So anybody like sensationalizing that is what was supposed to happen. Nothing's blowing up or anything yet. But yeah, so he says, I think there's a little bit too much drama for something that's rather normal in phase 2 with the EC, and that Microsoft was expecting since November. They tried to avoid it as a defensive move, mainly against the FTC, but that failed once the FTC challenged the deal sooner than expected. In that situation, it's logical that the EC doesn't want to properly talk about remedies until the SO is ready. Once that happens, Microsoft Activision Blizzard will be able to reply to the statement of objections and defend the transaction in an oral hearing, including the remedy talk. Basically, the objections the EU were going to report, that was always going to happen. That was never not going to happen. So it was really strange that all of a sudden people were surprised by that. And I called that out in the video. You can go check out the video that I made about it right there. They were always going to do that. So the fact that people are acting surprised about the statement of objections, it's just like that was the plan. And I think I've said that multiple times for the EU case. So it's not really as surprising as people have laid out. Now, there was a little bit of a timeline this morning from IDIS over there also. Excellent source for this case, by the way. Small update from MLEX about the CMA and EC. So the statement of objections from the EC is coming next week, spelling out the concerns that they have following the investigation. Microsoft has a chance to rebut them, both in writing and at a hearing. So expect to hear from me next week. Including the SO will give Microsoft a chance to access its file, including non-confidential versions of submissions by third parties. This will show exactly how much opposition there is to the deal beyond Sony. So we're going to get an idea of who all is objecting to it. We know Sony, Google, and NVIDIA have made statements with Google objecting and Sony objecting. If there is a SO, it's rare to get an unconditional approval. Not unheard of, but it's true. But Microsoft hopes that its months of dialogue with the EU regulators will have helped to narrow down the concerns, allowing it to target remedies to address them. Where the CMA stands now is unclear. They say that even Microsoft appears to be in the dark. In Microsoft's favor is that most of the public responses to the inquiry group received in the merger review supported the deal. In any case, answers to all those questions are coming in the next 2 to 4 weeks. Brace for impact. Whatever is going to happen with this case in the EU and the CMA, it's going to happen in the next month. So next week EU stuff shortly after. We're going to hear from the CMA. And then whatever's going to happen there is going to have a direct impact on the FTC lawsuit. So if the FTC thing is going to go to court, that's going to happen very soon also. And all this is happening amidst a whole lot of drama over at Activision Blizzard. Now, they also posted another article that I forgot to read through. First, so I'll read through that one and maybe make a separate video. But basically, it's again calling out the FTC for a case that seems a little bit frivolous and not well structured. So if you want to see that, be sure you're subscribed. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to know when my content goes live. I really appreciate you watching thus far. Thank you so much. Memberships are turned on. If you want to become a member, hit that join button right down there. I updated the list. So thank you so much to all the members who support. I really appreciate it. Click that join button. I post all these videos with no ads. Thank you so much. I am going to get out of here. I'll see you for the next one. Before I go, if you want to see the Minecraft Legends video, I highly recommend it because like I do a pretty good job of laying out what to expect from that game and it looks kind of fun. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet, because half of you aren't. And if you're still watching now, come on, really? All right. I'll see you. Bye for now, everybody.